Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Donovan.
And I'm Jordan.
Join us as we go into the pages.
Podcast.
Welcome to
Into the Pages. I'm Jordan. Just kidding, we don't do that.
We should, because I forgot who I were. I'm Donovan.
Have you ever had moments where you just see something or think of something and it just becomes like this weird out of body experience? Let me explain.
No, yes,
more.
do explain.
So I was looking at baby names for some random reason. I was just looking through boy baby names,
Okay.
and I came across Jordan, which is my name. And for some reason, I saw my name on a baby name list, and it was so surreal.
Okay.
I just was like, "Whoa, my name is Jordan. My name's Jordan." I was like, "What the heck? What kind of name is that, Jordan?" I swear, for 10 minutes at work today, I was just like, "Like the crap is
Okay.
this name?"
I think I know what you're saying. I've had moments like that.
Yeah. I imagine that's how John feels as his memories are coming back.
Okay.
Probably worse though.
Probably
He's
worse,
I'm
definitely.
John. Especially in
Man.
these chapters, because I don't remember if it was in these chapters or the last week's chapters, but it turns out he doesn't like the nickname Johnny. He says he always introduces himself as John, but everyone calls him Johnny.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who has one of those names that for some reason people go right to the nickname.
Yeah, and it's not even
Except
a
for,
nickname he chose or liked.
Yeah, he mentioned how he never introduces himself as Johnny. It's always John, but
Yeah,
people call him Johnny. Which is kind of funny because I think, isn't John the nickname of Johnny? I guess it goes either way.
I thought John was always the nickname of Jonathan.
Fine. Well, we're almost done with this book.
Yeah, we're definitely in the climax. The action sequences are all in this chapter. It gets crazy. It goes wild.
Yes. So this week we're going through chapters
Really cool.
30 through
29 through 35.
29. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure 29 was last week.
Ryan kind of make up a little bit. They come up with a plan where John's gonna distract them.
Yeah, that was last week.
Dang it, heck, that means were we supposed to read 30 through 36 then? Did you read 36?
I did read 30. Oh, wait, I only read 35.
Okay, good. I only read 35 too.
Yeah, okay. So just to be in the clear, 30 through 35.
30 through 35. We know what we're doing.
Oh, man, we're so
This
good
is
at
a podcast.
It's our podcast. We do what we want.
We're professionals.
Oh, dang straight.
So it's still good chapters, though. We'll just
Quite right.
go through it a little more ahead than I thought we were going to be. So we start off, John giving art lessons, which I hate the first sentence because I do not agree with him. He says, drawing people isn't as hard as you think. Yes, it is, John!
Yeah, honestly.
Maybe I just don't have the patience for drawing. I took art classes in high school. I've tried drawing on my own, and I just do not have the talent for it. And so him saying, it's not as hard as you think, I'm like, you son of a sack.
Yeah. Maybe if you're drawing people from that old kid show, Roly Poly or something like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Doesn't matter. But they're all made of shapes.
Oh, that's not drawing. That's just shapes.
Whatever. John doesn't agree with you. But no, I definitely kind of snorted to myself. No, drawing people is hard.
Yes, it is. I also think it's funny because there's throughout this whole book, there's been John will say little things about his dimension that technically should be similar to what Cephawin's dimension is, but slightly different. And there's one in here that John mentions cavemen because he's talking about, I think, because Cephawin tries out the pencil and she's like, wow, this is so crazy. How is this even working? And he's like, yeah, it seems impressive to you, but I mean, what you're doing would be impressive to cavemen, which, totally makes sense because we know who cavemen are and we have archaeological studies and books and history, but in Cephawin's what the crap's a caveman?
Yeah, their caveman's barely older than she is, kind of.
Yeah, so I bet there are caveman type people in her world. She just doesn't know about them.
Maybe there aren't. Maybe because the caveman were the Vikings and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of, but the Vikings are all beautiful and well groomed and craft. So maybe caveman never existed in this dimension.
Maybe I don't even know. Yeah, so he gives her more drawing lessons, and she likes it. Like she's really interested with how the pencil works, but she eventually kind of gets a little scared.
Oh yes, it came too close to writing. So
I guess she was getting tempted because she also just stopped and was like, "Take this away from me." And I was like, "Geez, calm down, lady."
We get a little bit more about nanites, which is, I'm sure, no surprise by this point that they give Ryan and John great endurance.
Yes, but even though it gives him great endurance, John still thought that he wouldn't be able to walk as far or as quickly as these people for as long.
Which is kind of funny.
So it does grant endurance.
Is he that out of shape?
But I guess if you have your whole life doing a certain physical activity, nanites can't match it. But I bet if you were to give nanites to Alston, then he would be like, or not Alston, Elstan.
Yeah, Elstan.
Then he would be like crazy.
How about you?
Like crazy, because he'd have his natural endurance plus the nanites augmenting it, so he would probably be able to.
Yeah, I think you're right. He definitely would. He would take that to a whole new level. It's like Elstan is right here, John is right here, Elstan with nanites. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I mean, you think about it, because like
it's like if you give me nanites.
Yeah, exactly. If you give us nanites, we'll be a lot faster, stronger, quicker, blah blah blah. But if you give like a freaking athlete, like a pro runner person who runs marathons, there's obviously going to be a difference.
I wonder if nanites can help you lose weight.
Probably. They'll probably just like eat the fat
Just
or
like
make you crap it out or something.
Cells. That'd be sweet. Yeah. Give me some of them.
I wonder if there's no one. Well, there probably is, since I was thinking that maybe there's no one out of shape in John's world, but since nanites are expensive, they probably still are.
Well, he said that nanites are often offered at birth, unless the parents decline them.
I always forget about that.
So I wonder if nanites are like kind of like vaccines, where they're just kind of there.
Yeah, well, like I wonder if that's not like all of them. Like if you get the nanites at birth, do you have everything that John has? Do you get nanites that toughen your skin?
Oh, those are just like those basic? Are different augments. I think I'm talking more about like the medical nanites.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They like heal you and make you not have to sleep and not have to be sick.
Okay, so I wonder maybe everyone is in a lot better shape, just because they have nanites that take care of anything.
Obesity, I think.
That'd be crazy. You could just go stuff yourself with cake for 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, because John does have to eat burnt wood. So
a lot of charcoal. Who thought the charcoal business would be?
I know, honestly, holy cow, in this world.
Not because of furnaces.
Maybe they just
because
they eat all the random crap like John does that the nanites say they need, and then they just like taste like cake.
I wonder if it's like a supplement. I can see it being a supplement. Like you just buy this huge thing of charcoal pills and then just take a few of them every day or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Man, we could get a whole 10-book series on John's world, I think.
I know, you could do it. You seriously could. It would be good too. It would be actually really cool.
I think it would be cool.
Is this how I would want to do like a detective?
Yeah, totally.
And that
like follow Ryan around, like type of thing.
Yeah, like Ryan's stories. That'd be cool. Well, Brandon Sanderson, if you ever see this,
please, we
suggest that as like a short story or something.
If the pandemic comes back, just continue this story.
Also, and I think it was funny in this chapter, I don't know if any of our listeners or if you know what it's like to be around young love. That's more like horny love.
Yes.
John and Sephiroth totally have that moment here. And I understand it because they're both like, they're both outcasts and they both think they're worthless. And it's like finally found someone to love. So I get it, but they're like being weird about it. So
I thought their whole relationship was weird just because it doesn't feel like a romance relationship at all.
Starts off pretty innocent. They're walking together, and then so Sephiroth like grabs his arm and they're kind of walking arm in arm. I was like, guys, yeah, that's normal. But then they start falling up behind, and so Ryan makes him get on a horse, and then he sits behind.
Oh, I'm remembering the part. Okay, I was trying to figure out like horny.
Yeah, so he sits behind her. And they're like really close together, and she's like, "Hold me tight so you don't fall down." So he puts his arm around her, and she's like, looks back, and she's like, "I just how I mentioned it, tighter."
Oh gosh!
She tells him to hold him tighter, so he's
hold me tighter.
And Ryan's kind of like, "Oh," but then Ailstan's like, "Don't be ashamed of your love."
Yeah, that's right.
This is your joy.
He should feel awkward. Oh, he does feel awkward. He blushes, right, but doesn't loosen his grip.
Yes.
Oh, that is funny. Going back for a second to the drawing thing, I think we've discussed this. I don't remember if we just talked about this with Tress. But I love how Brandon like puts real world things in his books. Like, I mean, with Tress, it was the fluidization with the sea and stuff. Like, that's an actual thing. I mean, obviously, we don't have the oceans we can sail on of these spores. But what I like he does in this one is John talks about how he says he's always been good at faces, but don't ask me to do hands.
Is that like a common thing?
And that's like a super common thing. Like, hands are really hard for artists to learn to do. Like, even really knowledgeable and skilled artists can still have trouble with hands.
Is that why that picture by Van Gogh or whatever that's just hands is so regarded as such a good painting?
Probably. I have no idea.
I'm just thinking of an office at The Office. I don't know if people have seen that, but there's an episode where one of the characters, Pam, that goes to submits her art to an art show, and it's like typical like high school art. She's got like a stapler and a vase and some fruit. And then there's people criticizing it. And one of them says, "It's her first try. Give her some slack." And one of the guys was like, "On Van Gogh's first try, he drew the hands of the peasants." And so I was like, "What's the big deal with that painting?" And now you're saying, so maybe that's why. I don't know. My kind of a tangent there, but
yeah, that's great. But yeah, I don't know why, but it kind of just feels like he puts a whole nother level of effort into his books that I'm sure other authors do it too. I just never noticed it or something.
I agree.
Anyway.
Another good thing about this chapter is John talks about his world to Sefwin and Elston, and they have a different reaction than what I thought, because they showed a city, and he showed like skyscrapers and apartment buildings. By show, I mean he drew it. He drew what it would look like, and they're obviously amazed. They're like, "Holy cow, that's a lot of people." And Elston's like, "Do one of you each live in one of those buildings? There's hundreds." And then Sefwin's like, "No, each window is a different apartment. There's like thousands of people." And they're just like, "Wow, that's so peaceful." And even John's like, "Peaceful?"
Yeah, honestly.
But I guess their reasoning for peace, I guess, made sense. Because they're saying, people can live close together without going to war and killing each other all the time, then that's peace to them. But I guess they don't understand crime and...
Yeah. And I mean, like, I guess... Yeah, there's more they don't understand, like, their neighbors, the Hordemen, like, come in and kill and plunder and steal. And while the people you live near, you most likely aren't going to try and kill you, maybe they're a little more likely to steal from you, but I, for one, always butt heads with my neighbors is over stupid little things that, obviously we're going to go to war for, but
yeah,
they don't understand that. I think if you were to, like, if they were able to go through the teleporter, then all the noise and actual amount of people that's around them, like if they were walking around the street. Did they say what city? Oh yeah, he's in Seattle.
Yeah.
So I think them walking through Seattle would still just overwhelm them, be like, "Take me home."
Yeah, I think so too. I think they were also like, how whenever you think of stuff, you think of it in the context of what you know and what your life is. So they're probably thinking of it like, in their town, like everyone knows everyone and everyone's pretty much family. That's probably what they're picturing it as.
Yeah,
but like the reality of it is, it's like I barely know my neighbors. Like I sometimes talk to my neighbor next door or sometimes this door, but I don't even know who lives across the street from me. Or
right.
Like I've seen them, I can picture them, but like I don't know what their names are.
Yeah, and I think another thing is we totally live in just like a different time where like we don't really need help from our neighbors.
That's true.
Like back, like in their days with like middle of England, like you need help all the time. Like you're just having trouble with your crops, or you're having trouble making money, so you need help from your neighbors.
Or you get like invaded, you don't have a military to come. Yes, like
so you need help from that, like stuff like that. And we're like, if your house caught on fire, then you're really relying on your neighbors to help throw buckets of water. Well, we can just 911 help you.
Yeah. And it's interesting so this perspective makes John like, holy crap, like these people have, like once again, he like how he kind of articulated it. He said, "The book lied. This place wasn't simple or pastoral. It was brutal, terrible, soul-crushing. Minus the Mordor's Vikings, the people had been wonderful, inspiring, cleaner, friendlier, and cleverer than I had ever imagined. But the general feel of the time, it sucked."
Yeah, and I think this is what we're talking about with Sefwin and Elston coming to their world and seeing like there's not really any law and order. Like these people just come and kill, and then there's like just nothing you can do about it. You can try to defend yourself, But
It's like the survival
with
of the
how many
fittest.
people the Hordemen have together, you'd really just, if you try to defend
They're like
yourself,
experienced
you're gonna die.
warriors too, experienced warriors who
Yeah.
like spend their whole life pillaging, going against farmers. So I'm sure, I can fight, but I don't think they're all like Elston. I think a lot of them are
No.
more close to farmers because it is mentioned several times that they rely a lot on their rune stones and the whites to help. And lately that hasn't been helping. They've been weakening, and so it's been making it harder to survive. And I mean, what's his name? The middling father. What did he lose? Like 6 sons or something like that?
Yeah, he lost a ton.
So
Like most. I swear it doesn't even sound like he's got any kids left. They're all just dead.
yeah. I think a lot of people have that tendency. I know I do. Like you think of the past and you just think of how cool it is and how, it's easy to gloss over how like actually terrible it was.
I know. I mean, when you get stuff like Lord of the Rings and you watch all these people that just fight in orcs, you're like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But I'm like, and then I complain. I'm like, I don't even get paid crap at my job. And then I think, well, I'd probably be a peasant back then and I wouldn't even get paid anything.
Yeah.
I'll be lucky to eat a piece of bread.
Yes, definitely.
He also explains a little bit. So we just get this, like, I think the rest of this chapter is just kind of like fleshing out the relationship between John, Elston, and Sefwin. They're kind of becoming closer friends. They learn more about John, and they kind of like just kind of accept him for who he is, which I think is a big deal for John. Like, they don't look down on him, they don't make fun of him or tease him, which is a big deal. And this isn't in this chapter; it happens later on, but I'm going to mention it now. They actually call him what he wants to be called. They call him Runian. And I think Ryan's even like, why the crap do you call him that? His name's Johnny. And they're like, because he asked us to call him Runian. And that was like a big deal for John because then that's when it came out. He's like, I don't like being called Johnny. And they call me what I want them to call. So maybe they actually respect me and like me, which.
Yeah. And I'm sure with the life that John has led, where he's kind of just been a deadbeat and always asking for money and kind of not owning up to stuff and blah, 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 that suddenly he's getting respect from Elstan and Sefwin, which he never got from anyone else.
And then it kind of makes him emotional, and he decides he's like, I really want to help these people. I want to like bring technology here. I want to help them, but he knows that if he does that, it'll kill the whites, which will pretty much destroy or really permanently and drastically alter their world. And so he's like caught between this rock and a hard place, I guess. Like he wants to help them with technology, but he knows if he does, their way of life will just be totally over.
Is the technology have the same effect, or is it actually just the people? I was thinking it was just the people, but maybe it's
I think it's both.
everything.
Maybe more so the people.
Definitely.
Because the White does mention later on that if more people were to come, it would kill the whites.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll definitely get to that further.
Yeah.
But
So I was just wondering in these parts just if he would decide to, go back to his world so he doesn't like accidentally kill off what makes his world so unique. And I also wondered maybe some crazy something or other will come to be and he will find a way to take Sefwin back to his world or something. I'm kind of wondering now, actually. I just had a new thought. Maybe they'll discover that if he gives up his nanites, however you do that, maybe that will be enough and the world won't be destroyed if he stays.
I'm hoping it'll be. I'm hoping he won't have to give up his nanites.
I hope so too.
I think he would die without his nanites. But hopefully, if he's able to, I don't know if this is his plan, but at this point we don't, anyways. But maybe if he can make it so he's the only one on the dimension, and then destroys every way to get there, like the beacons and any portals, and then that way it would be just him.
Yeah, that would be better, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But I wonder.
Yeah. Anywho, that takes us to the end of this chapter.
I did want to say one more thing about this. I thought you would like is
just looking at the art.
We just get a little zinger from Sefwin again about John's looks.
What was it again? I don't remember.
I don't remember everything that was going on. They're kind of talking about. We found out that Elstan named his axe after his wife because he loves them both.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they're kind of just talking about kind of stuff, and John says like, "Oh, that's a weirdo thing to do." Type of, it's like, "Oh, you named your axe after your wife if you're a weirdo." And then I can't really put together I can't remember what they're talking about, but John is like talking about himself, and he's like handsome, brilliant, inspiring, and then Cephalon jumps in, questionably handsome, brilliantly strange, and inspiring to other rodents.
I remember that, and John's like, rude.
Yeah. Which I think is hilarious, just because, like, if they really do have, like, this romantic relationship blossoming, I'd feel really embarrassed and questioning, like, does she even like me? She's always like, well, you're not right that handsome. We're like, oh, you don't like me, I don't think. But that was a hilariousness. I was also thinking that maybe if they figure out how to get Cephalon to John's world, maybe we should go to art school.
I should be too terrified.
She probably wouldn't be able to get over it. But yes, we get more of this weird comic stuff with a giant dude and the little wizard man, which I still don't understand. But
I think it's like a caveman or something.
maybe.
I don't know. You have like, looks like King Arthur's sword, like Excalibur coming out of the little...
But this comic is like the beginning of part 4?
Part 4, yep. And then we get another excerpt. It's a really quick one.
No free funds.
That's basically all it is. It's like, we don't sell used dimensions.
Yes.
Which is kind of
how would you know? Why don't you just say, yeah, here's a new dimension?
I have no idea. I like how this next chapter starts. I think it's just interesting to me to see how nanites affect their like everyday life. Because it says, we took a short break that night for everyone to sleep for 3 or 4 hours while Ron and I finished our plans. So,
Yeah.
Just the not having to sleep is just like so crazy to me.
Yeah, honestly.
It's like our lives are ruled by sleep.
Honestly, which
I think is a good thing, because I can only imagine, like, if you think back through time, like the workday technically would end when the sun went down, right? Then you got electricity, so now people can like had to work longer hours at factories and stuff. And so I'm sure if we didn't have to sleep, employers would find ways to be like, if you don't have to sleep, like you have to work. Like you can work during the day, go home for 4 hours, take a break, and then come back and
if
work.
that how the world would have been put together, that would suck. It would be pointless to be able to not sleep. So,
but it would be so cool if it wasn't that way, because then you'd have 8 hours of work, and then like
it gives you like what 16 hours to yourself. Instead of like, man, even though in the mornings you have like, depending on when you get up and when you have to go to work, but
I wake up like right before I have to leave.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. Like I get up like, I don't know. You like if you break it down, if you can get a perfect 8 hours, then you should have like 6 hours. I'm not doing the math really quick, but you should have like a few hours to yourself every day before and after work. But the problem is like, I know what you're saying. Like, maybe you didn't say this, but I personally can't get a perfect 8 hours. It's once in a blue moon that I get a perfect 8 hours. And I feel like I wake up feeling nice and refreshed and ready for the day. But like most days I wake up, I'm like, I'm not even ready for this. So it's like you don't really get those hours to yourself before you have to go to work, because you're just like groggy for one reason or another. Your night was kind of just crap. And then I swear at night you go home and you're like, wow, I'm home. Time for bed.
Seriously. And the weekends are even just like recovering so you can go.
I know. That's the thing that sucks too, is you spend your weekends going, oh, and then anyway,
it would be this way if I didn't stay up so late most nights. But I don't care what you say.
And along with like the taking their break, we learned that it looks like John's getting full access back from his nanites.
Oh yeah, so his nanites are like recovered, and he's comforted because he knows that he'll be able to survive a grievous wound.
Yes, and I assume he needed his nanites to recover so he could block stuff with his skin. Like he wouldn't have to worry about getting slashed and hacked.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure those are separate than his.
Are they?
And his medical nanites.
I have no idea.
I think they're both nanites, but I think they're like separate nanites. Like he has his medical nanites, but then he also has his like other nanites. That's how I thought it was, but I mean,
I don't know. Now that you make me think about it, I don't know if they ever like crystal clearly explained it.
Yeah.
Oh well, they're whatever it is. His nanites are pretty well recovered.
Yeah. Next morning, we are at, and we see another depressing part of the world, but also their way into the city What is this city called? I completely Mailport.
Yeah, Melbourne.
So they see a bunch of refugees going into the city, and they're like, these are survivors of Hordeman attacks. And then Cephalon's kind of like, what's the point of even fighting Ulric? Because if we defeat Ulric, then we're just still going to just be crushed by the Hordeman.
Yeah.
And
it's funny
Loden
how
still
that's- yeah.
freaking hates us. And so like we have that bear forest. And so it's like, what's the dang point? Even?
Honestly. And man, that totally makes me think of like medieval England in our world. It just seemed like there was just no point because it was like the royal families. I'm going off super vague of just what little I remember of history classes, but they were just like rotten to the core people.
Right. They didn't care about peasants at all.
They literally had that messed up thought that just because those other people weren't royal blood, they're nothing. They're meaningless. They're lowlier than cattle. And they treated them like that. Like, holy cow, it just seems like the kings and queens of England are just, of the past, are just painted with blood of the people that they just decided were deserving of death for whatever dumb reason.
Yeah, seriously.
Like the kings having a mistress and then killing the mistress. Like, what the frick? Anyway, that was just building on it. It is super depressing.
That's the bottom line.
And it just, yeah, it totally does feel hopeless. I mean, I think Ulric is worse than the Hordeman if he was able to continue with his plans. But right now they're still caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, and John finally understands an insult. So Thok wants to come, and Ryan's like, "You're an old woman, and they'll kill you." And then she's like, "Quit being such an ours." And
Or the ears, whatever they...
Yeah, and John's like, "That word again, ears? Like, why is that an insult?" But I think it's their weird way of saying arse. And he realizes that too. She's like, "Oh, he's calling him an ass." He's like, "That makes so much more sense."
Yeah.
Another thing about the Nana, I don't know if we already knew this, but they have an internal chronometer, so they just know what time it is.
Yeah, I don't remember it being mentioned, but yeah, we see it here again. They kind of synchronize Ryan and John. And Ryan is kind of still a little skeptical, I think, of John right here. It's like, you're going to help me, right? Please tell me I can rely on
It's like I
you."
can run, right? Like,
Yeah.
seems like he's just been really unreliable.
Which makes perfect sense if we actually have his true backstory now. That he just...
I would treat John the same way, honestly, if he was my friend. Or like every time you see him, he asks for money. He's like this low life.
Especially like right now, because right now they're in like kind of a desperate spot. Like they're in this other dimension.
Like you have to rely, like your life.
And
like,
they
relies
don't,
on
and
him.
right now, like with the stuff not working, Ryan doesn't have a way off this place. And he's not going to be able to get off this place without John's help. So it's kind of just like, please. I've been in those situations. It's not fun.
No, it's not.
Oh, and it gives him a gun.
Oh
Gives
yeah, so
John
he
a
has to
gun.
like give it permission to.
And
for him
man.
to use it. He's like code 121929193,
Yeah.
and it's like reassign.
Yeah.
So now it will only work for John.
Man, I really wish we could have these. That'd be so nice
That
to
would
not
be- it wouldn't
stress
have to-
about other people using your firearm.
Seriously,
without,
I
like,
wouldn't have
your
to put it in
position.
the gun safe. Just that'd be nice.
That would be super cool.
So again, to recap, for those who may not remember, but the overall plan is that John is going to cause a distraction, and Ryan's going to go in and destroy Ulric's beacon portal, whatever the heck he may have. So he gives him a gun to help with that, and the reason the way they're going to do this distraction is apparently there's security systems in their world that can detect nanites and augments, and then will sound alarms if it detects them. So John's going to walk in, set off those alarms. Ryan's going to go in. So that's what they start doing. And in order to do it, they dress up as refugees.
Which, as many refugees as there are, that's a pretty good way to go.
Yeah. And they're synced up to have the distraction start at 7:15 exactly. So right at 7:15, they walk through the gates and set off the alarms. And that takes us to the end of this chapter.
Yes, and the way he's ended this chapter, John is thinking like, my last fight had begun.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are you going to kill yourself trying to save these people?
It's a big moment for John because he's like, I think he's realizing that he's a coward and typically runs away. I think even while he's, I think it's in this chapter, maybe the next, he's even like instinctively starts thinking of ways to escape. He's like, oh, I can run down that alley. I can go there. I can hide behind there. And he has like forcibly like, no, I will fight.
Yeah.
And so the alarms go off, and almost immediately normal soldiers, like soldiers from this dimension, come at them. And I think the reason they come after is because he has the band of merry men, Ryan's men, with him. And as soon as the alarm goes off, they kind of all take off their cloaks and are like, on guard.
Yeah.
And a fight ensues, which seems cool, but later on we'll discover that I think was totally useless.
Their fight was,
unfortunately. Elstein has a pretty cool showing though. He does some pretty sweet stuff. So
I thought it was going to be Ryan or something when that part first came up.
Yeah,
I guess we can talk about it. But when Elstein started taking out all the archers, I thought it was Ryan or something because like, dang, they're doing. Oh, it's Elstein, sweet.
It sounded pretty gory too. So
yeah.
So the scene to set it up is I guess they're in like this courtyard area. There's the wall. It's like a stone wall. It's not that high. It's not even 8 feet, but I mean, it's still higher than they're standing. And on that wall, the defenders of, I forgot the name of the city again. Mailport. I have archers, and they're shooting down on Ryan's men. And Ailsten sneaks up there, and it's just like a whirlwind of death.
Yeah, honestly.
I think the way John describes it is just like blood and limbs flying everywhere. I'm like, geez, that's...
What is he...
He has an
axe.
And
the axe, that's right. We even talked about it.
And also, John has his first firefight.
Yes, which I thought this is a small test of his resolve to not run away, I think. Yeah. Because he knows this woman he comes up against.
Yeah. He shoots her right in the face, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's interesting. So I guess nanites are so good that one shot wasn't enough. So he goes up and just like unloads in their chest. Honestly. And just like shoots and shoots. 5 rounds or a few. He said a few more rounds, but I don't know how many that is. Maybe 3, maybe 4. And he was regretful that he didn't have disintegration flares. Because you took him in a body and it just fries nanites and burns the body. I'm like, geez Louise, I guess...
I would hope you'd be dead.
You have to be really thorough trying to kill someone because these nanites are pretty powerful.
No kidding.
Especially if they can regrow tissues. They can probably regrow bones and limbs.
Yeah.
Which is true because in the fighting arena he was in, they would like cut themselves to pieces and then just get healed. Yeah.
I wonder if there are nanites that are better than John's.
I wonder like military grade nanites or something.
Or something like that. That heal faster and better or something like that. Maybe like they don't take as many nanites to heal like John's did.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah. So you just really never know. It's like you got to really destroy a person's body in order to be 100% sure they're dead.
Again, just like you do with the Bloodmaker in dang it, Mistborn.
Oh yeah, I just found the place. John describes Elstein as a typhoon of fury slammed into one of the groups of enemy archers, hacking off limbs and sending people falling as he stormed through the middle of them. Elson had found his way into the wall.
Yeah. But then Elson starts getting sniped. Luckily, the sniper is not very good and doesn't hit Elson.
Which blows me away, because you would think with all of the things that nanites can do, that they would make you a perfect shot. Like, because this sniper guy and John have missed a few shots.
That's true, actually. I guess they can like provide everything you need. They can make you see perfectly. They can make you be perfectly steady. But I guess they can't give you judgment. So Elson's like moving. So I guess if you can't know how to lead or judge,
that's true.
Then I guess that kind of makes sense. You saw the practice shooting. But John goes to take out the sniper. He decides that that's the best thing that he can do. And he's trying to figure out where it is. And his white is very helpful and tells him where it is. He's like, down the path to your right, between these two things. That'd be so cool, like helpful on Fortnite. Just have something like he's right over there.
Right? Oh my gosh. Yes, no kidding. That'd be amazing.
It turns out it's Quinn. I was totally expecting like this big fight between them, but did not.
I was too. I was hoping when John started getting his nanites back, I was like, okay, I really hope there's like a good scene with him. And then it kind of came up when he finds out, runs back into Quinn, like, oh, maybe he'll get a rematch with Quinn.
I was totally anticipating that, but then he just points, he gets the drop on him, and he's like, give me your weapons, and he does. I think it's smart how he handles the weapons, because apparently, so he destroys them. So when he gets them, he shoots them and destroys the guns. Excuse me. And I think it was a good reason why, because I didn't realize it, but you could give your guns like remote commands, so that's why you can't just like let them lay there. So they can be like self-destruct or fire. It's like if you grab it, they can just like still have it shoot you. I don't know if that's what it is, but
he decides them to fly around and shoot at you, shoot at the people.
That'd be cool. But he decides not to kill Quinn because he's like, I'm not going to orphan your kids.
Yeah. He kind of tries to convince him to like just let all this go back. to I forgot his woman's name.
Tacy.
Yeah, go back to Tacy and the kids.
And then he's like, you're under arrest, Quinn. He's like, are you serious? You're making me do time? And then he's like, Flanagan will get you off. So I guess that's the mob lawyer.
Well, maybe, yeah.
He's like, he'll do a few months. He's like, but still, it's undignified to get caught, especially by you. Oh, and then it gets, the intensity ramps up at the end of this chapter. So he sends Quinn away. He lets Quinn run away. Actually, wait, not even yet. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It hasn't happened yet. Elsend comes up and is like, the freaking Hordemen are here. So the Hordemen are all attacking the city, which I forgot that I cannot remember the name. Maelstrom.
Maelsport. Something like that.
Maelport.
They don't say it very often, but it was something with the port. Maelsport or something.
And so they go to investigate, and that takes us into the beginning of the next chapter.
Yes. And it doesn't say how many... Yeah, let's go to the next chapter. Yeah. Oh, it's literally right in the first
it's like right in the first paragraph, yeah.
Hundreds
of ships.
So it's like 3 the first time we ran into the Hordemen?
And 3, and what can each one hold? Like, I don't know, like 50 people? I don't even remember what it said.
It didn't seem like it was that many. I thought it was like 20 or something.
20, so hundreds and 20 people on each ship. There's a lot of people, a lot of professional warriors attacking this city.
Yeah, if there's hundreds of ships, I'm sure there's like thousands of people. Yeah. Which I wonder why, because John described that this city was bigger than the last one, but it wasn't that big. So why do they need hundreds of ships to take this place? What do these like refugees have that these Hordemen or they just want to kill people? Are like, there's all over here, let's all go get them.
I think that's all it is. They just want to conquer and expand, maybe. I don't know.
They sound like
I wonder if there's so many because I think this is their capital, and so they want to take with the roaming force. Maybe they'll use that as a base of operations to conquer the rest of the world. And it gets crazy again. So there's like storm clouds, and then lightning comes and just obliterates the gate. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's like, Woden is with them.
Woden is with the dang Hordemen.
So I guess there was no similarity between Woden and Odin. I don't remember Odin wielding lightning, though. Does Odin wield lightning? I know Thor does.
No, not that I know of. I seen him... I want to say he shot like a beam out of his spear or something. And
maybe that's what it was. It just looked like lightning.
But Thor is like the one known for using lightning.
And then Quinn says, let me go warn Johnny. We can get the whole gang here to fight him off. And that's when I think this is when we learn, like, everyone coming will kill the... What's the McCallets? Whites. Oh, and we also learn another thing. That it was a trap all along.
Yep, of course it was.
Ryan was totally set up. Apparently, there's the beacon. Apparently, Ulric doesn't even have a beacon, and he needs Ryan's beacon to get out. And so he intentionally lured him there, and to use his beacon to get back up. So they totally play it into his hands. Mm. And so he's like, Ryan's in danger. We need to go save him. And then Sephilin's like, she's like kind of freaking out. She's like, why is Woden doing this? Why did he bring our enemies here? Like, we worship him. We sacrifice for him. And she's kind of have like this faith crisis is what it seems like.
She should have had a long time.
But it's like different than a faith crisis in our world. Our faith crisis in our world is like, does he even exist? Like, his is like, he's obviously present. He just blew up the gate. And she's like, why is he abandoning us? So,
yeah, honestly. That's another thing that just adds to the hopelessness.
Yeah, seriously. Like, your God just wants you to suffer.
Like, even their deity just, like, is against them.
Yeah. And then Ulrich gets all, like, classic hero nobility. He's like, I will sacrifice myself.
He tries to go back
to... My blood can appease Woden.
Yeah.
And John's essentially like, no, that's stupid.
Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm glad he convinced him because it really was just dumb.
And then John's like, come with me instead. And then Elson's like, I will follow you to the gates of hell itself.
I'm surprised he knows what that is, hell.
I think hell was a Viking thing, wasn't it?
I don't know, but you think they would call it something else.
Oh, like Druid's Guard. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so he does convince him to help Ryan. Yeah. And this is kind of where we learn that it was a trap. He goes to find him and then finds out that he's like been taken out. He wasn't like knocked out. Was he tied
Before we
up?
get to that, though.
Yes.
There's one thing. So Sephiwin decides to go to the rune stone.
Oh, does this happen?
Is it? I don't think what you're talking about is happening. So she says, like, while you guys go get Ryan, I'm going to go boast and see if I can help. And then Elson's like, hey, come on.
Yeah. I felt the same way too. Like, your boasts have led in 0 thus far. So, bye, Sethwood. Nice knowing you.
It's like, you're going to die.
We'll see your head on the spike outside the city. Yeah. Let's see. There was a funny part that I thought was kind of funny. I hope this doesn't jump past where you were thinking. But they're trying to get into Ulric's little base. And what I love to see, John is going to use the white to get in again, and he leaves it up single berry.
Oh, yeah.
This level was like, 1 berry? I don't know why. And it's like, oh yeah, John is, you want me to stop working on? It just goes, it's the principle as much as anything else. And, yeah, the white still does it though. I love when creatures give sass.
Right. And so John gets there just in time to kind of see the conclusion of Ulric's plan. Ryan's there captured along with someone.
His man on the inside.
Yes.
Or should we say woman?
Should we say biatch? Anyways, so, and then he walks in, right? I could just picture the whole scene, like Ulric like holding at the beacon, like, he probably just finished monologuing to Ryan, and then he pushes the button, which activates the beacon, and instantly 3 people appear up. 2 were outfitted in full-on modern armor with assault rifles and helmets and everything, and then a woman who was Ulric's dimensional expert. So they got 2 full-on soldiers with assault rifles. Like, those guys are going to be machines.
Yeah, I think they could do a lot of damage to the Hordeman coming, but as much as they've got, I think they'd run out of ammo. Yeah, I'm just guessing though. They wouldn't be able to take them all out.
If they're all lined up, and they have plate piercing rounds, they could probably like
take out a few.
Probably like go through a bunch of them. Yeah. And plus, there's a fear factor. Like if you see like hundreds of people mowed down in seconds, you're probably gonna run.
That's true. That's true. And like you hear this massive noise, and then suddenly all the people around you are dying, and you don't even see what is killing them.
That would freak out even the craziest person. Yeah. So all this is kind of happening while John's kind of hidden. The lady's there to fix the portal, and once the portal's fixed, they'll bring through more people. Right now, the beacon can only bring through what it has so far.
Yeah, this is 3.
And then Quinn comes in and tells them about the Hordeman. And so Ulric and the soldiers and Quinn all leave, which leaves in the room the dimensional expert, Ryan, and his inside person, which
we discover
is
the one and only
Jen.
She's not quite as dead as we've been led to believe.
Should have seen it coming. Freaking Brandon Sanderson. The woman is right there. So now
he has made it so good this entire book.
I know. So instantly I thought, ooh, love triangles, F1 or Jen. Which one are you gonna choose? But then it gets
pretty obvious that who it's going to be.
So the next chapter, the first little bit, is kind of like Jen was alive. So John's kind of freaking out.
Yeah.
Oh, I skipped ahead. So it's during the first part of this chapter where Quinn comes in, they leave. The lady's trying to fix the thing.
I love, actually, while we're on this, I love Ulric's response. It's hilarious to me. Because, Quinn comes in and is like, there's Vikings, like a lot of Vikings. And then he's like, now? And what does Quinn say? Yeah, they're straight up attacking. Lightning blew up the gates. And then Ulric says, bother. Like, what the heck? I'm sorry. The only character in all my life I've ever heard say bother was Winnie the Pooh. Like, oh, bother.
So you're just
it always
gangster.
Yeah, but then you watch movies where there's like mob bosses and gangsters, and they're always like mother effer and swearing up a storm, and oh bother, there's Vikings. Like,
this is a PG-13 book.
Apparently, it's a freaking PG book. Well, actually, okay, I would say PG-13 since Elstan is chopping off limbs. But I don't know why Ulric, this big, mighty mob boss, bother. What the crap? Anyway, that was the highlight for me in this chapter.
So when Ulric and them leave, John walks in, And the doctor lady, I think they said her name. What the frick is her name? Marta. She looks up as soon as John walks in, and she's like, "Oh, Johnny." And then she starts asking for his help, like, "Hand me that box over there."
Yeah, doesn't even since he works for him, she just didn't even question that, like, "Oh, why are you here?"
And luckily, Johnny plays along. I think he was smart to play along.
Yeah,
instead
definitely.
of being like, "How dare you, woman? I'm a good guy now." He's
Yeah.
just kind of like, "Oh yeah, sure." Then he helps her out, and then he's like, "Ulric sent me to deal with these two and like kill them." And then she's like, "Oh, dude outside. I don't want to see that."
It's just also kind of funny since she works with his mom, but
yes. And then the freak out begins. He takes him outside. And we learn why Ryan's beacon didn't work. It's because he got it from a quartermaster at the precinct who is on is on Ulric's payroll and has been for years.
yeah.
So the plan was flawed and doomed to end.
Yeah, since before
end
the story began.
Yeah. And Ryan's kind of like, "Wow, I didn't even know that." And then he's like, "You better explain this bull crap." And then, oh my gosh, I was so mad when I read this part. Like, I know Johnny was a low life, but this was bad.
This is low for sure.
So it turns out Johnny, or not, gee, I keep saying Johnny for everybody. Turns out Ryan and Jen have been, I guess Jen has been cheating on John with Ryan.
Wow, you're really having a hard time.
Oh my gosh, what is going on?
This is why in Tress of the Emerald Sea, Hoyt just used Doug for everyone.
Seriously, so he doesn't have to do this while he's telling stories.
Anyway, yes, maybe I'll say it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll probably mess it up too. But practically since the beginning, like 2 weeks in the relationship, I think they said.
Yeah, because he asked, he's like, "How long?" And she's like, "Since the second week."
Yeah, that's right. But Jen was cheating on John with Ryan, like, since the beginning.
And, like, cheating's already bad enough as it is.
Yeah, even if you do it to a low life. Like,
even John's like, "Why didn't you just break up with me?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't know. I couldn't decide." And, like, "You were so interesting and sweet." And I was like, "What kind of woman is this?"
Right?
Like, so she essentially wants, like, two men. She wants Ryan for whatever reason, and she wants Johnny for whatever reason. And instead of choosing one and cutting the other loose, she just plays both, essentially. And I'm like, just like, I hate Jen now. I freaking hate Jen. And then she's like, and she essentially didn't fake her death, but she had the opportunity to infiltrate Ulric's thing because she's an historian, and Ulric wanted a historian to help him with dimensions. And so she was essentially recruited by Ryan to help infiltrate. And her plan was just to say she was going to go away, but her grandma texted John that she was dead, and Jen was like, "That works too." Like, sure. And I was like, even more, I hate this woman.
Yeah,
like,
honestly.
Why heck?
How long were they dating before they faked her death?
Seemed like a while, like at least a few years.
So I'd be so pissed if I was in that
right?
position.
I'd be like, just end it. Like,
that's way worse than
yes,
than ending
like
it.
2 weeks after their relationship, like the whole time.
Yeah, and like this whole time too, from the memories that he's had about Jen, he's always felt guilty and like depressed and sad, and like a big reason why he's even in this dimension is because he was trying to escape everything and the loss of Jen and such.
Yes, I was so pissed.
Poor friggin' John, honestly.
Yeah.
His life really sucks. He's been a low life his whole life. He finally decides to just get away. He comes to the exact dimension where all the crap is going down.
I know.
Finds out his girlfriend doesn't really, it's not committed to him at all. Doesn't love him, in my opinion.
And also on this point, so John's obviously getting worked up, and Ulric takes back command of his gun. So he says the code and says, "Reassign back to me." And then the gun essentially becomes useless to John, so John gives it back.
Very much against his will, but he really didn't have a choice.
He's like, "Jeez Louise."
Which I guess there must be some sort of voice recognition or something, because I imagine John can't be like, "Yeah, well, code 1929193, give me the gun back." Okay. I'm sure it
must
wouldn't
be
do that.
coded to his voice or something.
Yeah, exactly. Did they talk about biometrics? Was it like also like
It can sense the nanites. Because remember, he
Okay.
says code to nanites. And it even says, when it says reassign back to me, it says reassign to Ryan, choose nanite signature. The gun said currently in hands that cannot operate. So it can like detect the nanites somehow and know that they're yours. So, okay. So anyways, with the gun back, Ryan goes back in to, I guess, take on Marta or whatever, which leaves John and Jen alone, which is even more lowly. She's like, He's like, why? And she's like, you were so intriguing, and Ryan's great, but he doesn't even butter his toast. It's too unhealthy. And then she smiles at him. Like she's just trying to use
Like,
her
punch her
looks
in
or
the
something
face.
to get out of it.
Yeah.
And John's like, that smile used to work before, but today nothing except some residual anger. Huh? It's because Cephalin has replaced Jen. So I'm like, good.
Yes, right?
Jeez.
Cephalin is weird, but she's been nicer than Jen.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't remember. They deal with Marta somehow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he like, I think she's handcuffed or bound by Ryan.
And he just said, sounds like Ryan grabbed her and shoved her through the portal.
Yeah, so he reset the coordinates to show up in the precinct. And so he goes through, then Jen goes through, and then he just kind of talks down to John in a way that just made my skin crawl. He's like, you did good here, Johnny. Like, I can probably get you off. Like,
Yeah, totally.
you'll help me, right, bud? And I'm like, I hate when people say bud in this context.
Yeah, it's so true. That's like literally.
It's like it
being
just came
slapped
out
in the
that
face.
he's been cheating on you with his girlfriend for years.
Yeah,
He
it's
obviously
like all
doesn't
the same
respect him or
bud.
doesn't like him. And then he was like, you'll help me, right, bud? And I'm like, screw you.
I hate that kind of patronizing crap. Makes me want to punch someone in the face.
Yeah. And then so John responds, sure, bud. And then so Ryan goes to the portal. Oh, side part. So Ryan, I think another reason that kind of makes John kind of mad is Ryan isn't going to come back with reinforcements. He says, let's just leave, and then Ulric will be trapped here, and maybe the Vikings will kill him. And he's like, so you're just going to leave these people? And he's like, yeah, we can't do anything. There's Vikings coming.
Yeah, he definitely has
So
the
he's
same kind of attitude as the Frugal Wizard company. He's like, whatever, these are just, who cares? And he's really super quick, and it's really easy for him to just
Abandon them,
leave
essentially.
them,
So yeah, so that's there. So Ryan steps through, and John turns off the portal.
Yeah.
So there's no way to get back. And Elston's there. Oh, by the way, during all of this, the whole fight, the conversation, everything, Elston's there.
Yes, and he's so lost and confused, has no idea what the heck these guys are talking about.
Yeah, I forgot. At one point, it mentions his face, and I picture just like,
It's like, I don't know what's going on. That'd be crazy.
so he's like, those are your friends? He's like, I thought they were. And then Elston's like, maybe elves aren't as smart as I thought they were. And then John's like, yeah, wise words. And then they've got, so they want to, so they have to do two things. They have to solve the Ulric problem, which just became way harder because he has those two soldiers with full on gear, and plus his other goonies that are already there, and his weapons and his fully armed augment. So that's a huge challenge. But they also have to deal with the Hordemen now too. And so what's going to happen?
It's an impossible task.
Yes. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Actually, no, I won't jump ahead yet.
So, chapter 35.
Yes.
The last chapter of
Yeah.
this episode.
Yeah. They decide right when this chapter ends that they need to destroy the portal, and they need to destroy Ulric's beacon.
Mm.
And they run outside to do that, and they see Cephalin.
Oh, yeah, I guess this is the ending of chapter 34,
Yeah.
where Cephalin is like put herself in between like a bunch of the
Yeah, the
Hordemen.
Hordemen have gotten through the gate. They've defeated the defenders. The defenders are in a rout. They're running. The Hordemen are chasing them, and Cephalin's there, and they're kind of running right at her. And she's trying to boast. She's like trying to do her thing, and she's like, looks like she's struggling. And John goes to try to save her, but Thok is also in there, and like grabs his arm. And
Thok
is like,
all of a sudden shows up again like she does, where she just it's like gone. And so like, you're there. What the heck? I even like, where did you come from?
and then we get an interesting little thing.
Oh my gosh,
And
this
then
blew my
so-
face off.
Yeah, so Elson's like, Woden is here serving our enemies. And then she was like, yes, earlier you said he only cares about sacrifice. You're wrong. My brother cares only about who is winning. He only wants to be on the winning side. And
Yeah,
then John's
seriously.
like, wait.
That was just like a
It's just like your brother.
honestly. I was like, what the heck is going on?
And Thok's like, yes, you idiot. And then he even talks about to Elston a little bit later. He's like, did you know that was her? And Elston was like, yeah, you didn't know?
Like, no, how are we supposed to know?
I know, this whole time we thought she was just some old crony and that they were just like treating all weird. She was a freaking
Freaking-
goddess.
They were being respectful to a dang goddess. Like, oh, goddess, you suddenly showed up. I didn't even notice you. It's a freaking goddess, not some crazy old lady. Good crap.
Yeah, seriously. And it turns out that she's also the white that's been, the quote-unquote white. So it turns out she was not a white, but she's the one that's been helping him.
Yes. That's why
which makes the berry
she
joke
disappeared, because like she didn't run away like I suspected she didn't, like with the fight with the midfather, but she actually just like turned into her white form or whatever you want to call it, and was helping that way. So she was right that she was keeping them alive.
Yeah. And we also, this is also where we get a little more of a dialogue here. We'll get more into what's going on with Cephalin, but she says that if more people come through, like if they bring like an army through or soldiers to deal with the Hordeman, then that will kill all the whites. And she said that even for her, when she destroyed that cell phone, it was like super painful, and she couldn't form a physical body for a few days and after that, which also explains why she also wasn't there. On the road, she was also there.
Yeah. Oh, that actually answers the question I was asking earlier. Like, is it the people killing the whites or the technology? So I think it is both.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Because she's this goddess, and dealing with a cell phone took her out for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's here where Cephalin tries a boast, and it does zilch.
Yeah, she kind of like she says like a little bit, and then she kind of stutters and stops and slumps, and then kind of seems like she's giving up. And the Hordemen like kind of go around her, and most of them avoid her because there's still that superstition around Thok. What the crap are they called? Thok? No.
Talking about the
what's Cephalin called?
Oh, a Scop.
Scop. And then Thok is like, John again tries to like, I gotta go save her, and Thok's like, no, let her do her thing. And then she like opens his eyes essentially, and he can see the shadows that are the whites that are kind of hiding.
I like how she says it. Didn't she say like, let me improve your vision or something like that?
Yeah. And then some.
Oh yeah, let me improve your sight.
Yeah. And then some Hordemen begin to approach Cephalin with swords out. And then Cephalin.
Yeah, she kind of breaks. Like this is her final just like breaking point, and she renounces Woden.
Yeah, she's like, Woden, hear me.
Like, I hate you.
I've always hated you. I defied you.
Yes.
And then something changes. So the shadows that were hiding and kind of look towards her and turn towards her, and the runestone, which wasn't glowing before, starts to glow. And then she pretty much just yells at Woden. She's like saying, I defy you. I won't cower anymore. I reject you. I'm not going to worship you anymore because you're a worm, essentially. And lightning splits the sky because Woden's all pissed.
Yeah. Have you seen the art for this?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh my gosh, keep scrolling.
I will once we get there. I'm excited now.
It's right there.
Oh, I guess on my phone it's a little... Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I loved this piece of artwork. I thought it was so cool.
That is really cool.
Totally BA.
And then a very gross part happens.
Oh, I want to... A morbid part of me was like, can I watch this on a movie?
It seems so crazy, but... So the whites are kind of listening to her. And
like the whites had their own little crisis going on. I don't know, just by what Thok says, like the whites needed inspiration. Like it seems like they're maybe feeling dejected and down, maybe because of Ulric's and everyone else's presence.
Yeah, I bet they also reflect the moods and feelings of the people that they protect. Because she also said that they didn't want to serve people who were afraid of Woden. They wanted someone strong to follow, I guess.
Oh yeah, they said that.
Yeah, Thok says that.
Okay. Later, which is interesting. Like this whole time, like they were trying to worship Woden, and it was just like, it's not even. It's like worshiping the devil or whatever. Like, they're not worshiping a god. They're worshiping a devil type of thing.
So, anyways, so she says this. The whites kind of awaken, and one of the soldiers starts approaching Cephalin, and she just like looks at him, and it's described. He fell like a bundle of rags, leaking blood and fat out of the eye holes.
Oh yeah, that sounds.
I was like,
gruesome.
"Geez, Louise!"
They have a really brutal way of killing.
He said his body unraveled, bones unhooked, hair fell free, skin disconnected from the layers. But I almost feel it looks so gross.
Oh, that would look so gross.
It's just like it's like a pile of flesh and blood. It's like, oh my gosh, that's
I wonder
disgusting.
how that would smell. Not good, I'm sure.
Good at all. And that's just the first of it. So then that wave kind of goes through the Hordemen and doesn't kill them like that, but their weapons fall apart, their armor falls off, some of their clothes even fall off. And
it
so
seems
all
like
of a sudden,
what the whites do is they literally just take apart everything.
I think it's like they can take apart stuff and they can
it.
construct. It seems like they can construct and deconstruct.
Yeah.
So I guess
Which
that's
would be
pretty handy.
It'd probably be really traumatizing to see a person deconstructed.
I would be traumatized. And so all of a sudden the tide is turned because the whole Hordeman horde, at least the those are in the courtyard, are just completely unarmed. Don't even have armor. Some don't even have clothes. And Sephiroth's still yelling at Woden, I defy you. And then there's another funny part. That maybe thinks that Thok is a little more powerful than I thought she would. But the Hordemen, of course, naturally freak out because they see this power and they start to scream and run away. And John's like, Woden's PO'd. Yes. And then Thok's like, well, he hates losing, but don't worry, I'll deal with him. You still need to deal with Ulric.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious where Woden is right now. Is he kind of like doing the same thing Thok did, where like maybe he's in some sort of unseen form and he's watching and like maybe doing his little thing here and there where he sends lightning to help out the people who is winning? Or if he's, I don't know. I didn't really think about it, but I kind of feel like he's there now.
He probably is. I bet she's just going to go talk to him like, hey, bro, you need to chill the F out. Or maybe she has power to actually defy him. I don't know. But basically, his job is to take out Ulric because the poison of their world is seeping in and it's going to kill the whites. And if the whites die, then the Hordemen come. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, again, like we mentioned, the rock and a hard place. Like, Ulric needs to die, but he also has the technology to defeat the Hordemen. But if Ulric doesn't die and his technology to leave, then the whites are going to die and the Hordemen are going to win. So it's kind of like a really tough situation for sure.
Yeah.
And so John again promises, like, I will do it.
Will you? Can you? She says.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny and gross what she says after this. Oh, like, yeah, she's like, don't make me regret choosing your side. Seriously, I could be getting drunk and castrating giants. She's got a nasty hobby. Right. Those poor giants. I don't know why, but that's sick. She sounds as messed up as her brother. She's just out there castrating giants. What the crap?
Yeah. This is also when he's like, you knew who she was? And she's like, the goddess Logna, mother of monsters, harbinger of the end of time of gods? Of course, you didn't. And John's just like, these people.
Yeah, honestly.
So they say, I need to go back and destroy the portal. And so they run back, Alston and John. John tells Alston to guard the door, and he runs in, and Quinn is already there. So maybe we're going to get our revenge fight after all.
I think that's exactly what we're going to get. It even says that's how this chapter ends.
Quinn came in swinging.
Yeah. So
he tries to trick Quinn, though, because Quinn's like, the coordinates on this portal have changed. And John's like, jump in. Ulric wants you to jump in. And he's like, BS, John. He's like, come on, go to your kids. Go to Tacy. Just get out of here. And he's like, no.
Oh, is this where I was thinking? I was talking earlier where he tried to convince him to just go back?
Yeah.
I guess I jumped ahead without realizing.
Yeah, go home to Tacy and the kids. Forget about this dimension and pretend it never existed. And then Ulric just starts stretching, which I guess is the classic thing. And he's like, it's not personal. And he's like, it is personal. And he's like, yeah, it is. And Quinn came in swinging. And that's unfortunately how we have to end this week.
Son of a gun. But we will get the rematch, which I'm curious how this is going to go because since John has some of his augments.
His chest and his head.
Yeah.
Which seems like pretty vital areas for a fight.
Especially like, I don't watch like boxing much, but when I do see it, like that's usually where they're aiming is like the face.
Yeah, like straight up for the face. So
it's gonna be interesting. I am gonna be excited to read about this fight. That's for sure.
Me too. So we'll get there next week.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite part of these chapters?
The bother part.
The bother part.
I just don't. That's just. It doesn't fit at all. Like Ulric is this guy who, to prove how strong it was, blew the head off some guy. He had a gun so powerful that it can kill someone with augments that have tendency to like can like block swords and crap. But he just murders someone to show his power. And we didn't talk about this, but he was gonna do the same thing with the Vikings. Like he wants to talk to the Vikings and be like, "Oh, you guys can have this city," and they're gonna show off their futuristic power by killing more people. But he just goes, "Oh, bother." What? But that was hilarious.
My favorite part was John and Sephiroth getting all close on the saddle. I don't know why I thought it was so funny. They're like getting all tight and close, and Ryan's grossed out. and Elson's like defends them. He's like, let them have their joy and their peace. I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Just hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man, exciting things to come.
Yes.
Next week we'll finish up this book.
Finish this book. Talk about what comes next.
Exciting times.
Very exciting times.
Yes. You all will have to jump over to our Instagram. We want to hear how much you guys hate Jen and Ryan too.
Or if you hate them.
Yeah.
Or if you think Jen was in the right.
Do you think they were okay to be a jerk to John because he was also kind of this deadbeat? Tell us what you think.
Yes. Thanks for joining us into the pages.
Yep, that wraps it up.
Yeah, hope to see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. It's over.